Hey guys, and welcome back to another look at Discovery. I'm Captain Foley.
I'm Connor Cockins, and it's brand new, and so we are discussing it, all the things, but in a short form, because our full review is tonight, and our live chat discussion, scene by scene breakdown at 10 p.m. GMT and 5 p.m. Eastern. With a plug out of the way, what's today's episode, Stuart?
Today's episode is episode 5 of Discovery Season 2 called Saints of Imperfection. Why it's called that, I couldn't figure out even after watching the episode, but
Yeah,
I'm sure there's a good reason.
the names are a little more abstract this year, despite being quite abstract last year as well. So I haven't, again, as always, we don't talk about this beforehand. I've not looked at any other people's reviews, so I only have my own thoughts, not biased on anything else. I'm intrigued, really intrigued to see what you think. So what do you think about this episode? Short version.
I loved this episode, felt very TNG, again, very episodic, and I thought it was great.
Okay. I'm super okay. It's been fine. I was kind of bored. Pace elements and stuff. I was kind of bored through it. I was like, oh. So it's kind of the opposite to episode 3 for us then. Where I liked it, you didn't. See? We're our own people, Stuart. Yes. Yeah, so I guess let's break it down then. What do you like most about it, and why did it sort of stand out to you then?
Well, like I said, they kind of bookended the whole thing with the Spock segment, and the middle was very episodic, very much its own thing, even though it did tie into, what happened with Tilly and stuff before.
That's an arc story. It's finishing off the arc that's been 4 episodes in the making.
I know, but you
Not
can go into
episodic.
you can go into this one watching just this one, not knowing what else happened with the previously on, and you can enjoy it. You don't have to worry about watching the other ones. It's more episodic than the ones in season 1.
This is true. Okay, so more case of it has a strong single beginning and end than season 1 had, but it's still very much integrated into the grand plot. It's not inventive for this episode and lost, but it's a bubble of content as well. So I mean, it's treading that line more.
Yeah, I think so. Getting Tilly back, it was kind of neat to finally have that wrapped up. That whole green spore thing and the mycelium network coming out to talk to Stamets and getting that all resolved. Although the way they did it with the ship kind of crashing in and looked like it was sinking, very much reminded me of, it looked like Titanic at one point. Somebody needs to Photoshop Titanic on the hull. And then, yeah, bringing Hugh into it was a fantastic idea. I really liked the way they integrated that in to kind of get a main character back. And kind of shocked by that because I didn't watch any. I did watch the trailer beforehand, but I didn't see Hugh in it.
Although Facebook was again promoting the StarTrek.com and Facebook saying, Hugh's back this episode. So I'm like, oh, he's back this episode. They're really doing a bad job at saying people are back. Same with Georgia. It's like, Georgia's in this episode. And I'm like, if you didn't say it, it would be a good reveal. Because you said it, I'm waiting for him. I was convinced, and I was so because they kept promoting he's back, and that creates a sense of intrigue. I was so excited by the fact they couldn't come back. I thought they were going to commit to the much more unique path of he's only in the mycelium, what's the thing there? And then they just brought him back, and it was fine. So I was like, oh. Wow, okay. I was really excited by their bravery, and it's like, because it really devalues his death in season 1.
Yeah, well, this episode had a way of kind of messing with your expectations and twisting things around, but the way they did it, I thought was very well done. And yeah, I mean, it was ruined for me about the shuttlecraft because I saw Giorgio getting off it in the trailer.
Yep, again.
So for a second, I thought they actually had Spock, and then I'm like, wait a minute, no. Giorgio gets off. So once it's in the shuttle bay, I'm like, it's Giorgio. Yep, it is. And then later with his hand disappearing, I'm like thinking for a second, going, oh my God, that's so sad. And Sylvia's all upset because she likes Hugh, and she was like, he's not coming back. Yeah, but they just been talking about the Cocoon organic transporter earlier, and it's like, that's pretty much a simple solution sitting right there, guys. And then, yep, sure enough. So,
I mean, everything's set up, but everything's so easy. And at the same token, the big threat factor for the entire second half, we kick onto the bridge and it's like, they're not in danger. Like, I not for once ever thought danger, and just the pacing of that was pretty poor, and the amount of extra time they gave us. Like, I was like, this is not the correct, whereas like last episode, where the ship's like dying because of the virus, you're intrigued where it's going to go, and I was like, this is not grabbing me at all.
see, I'm the other way. I thought this one was more danger-inducing, just the shaking, the bridge, and then it's like, Literally, Burnham, we have to pull you out right now. All right, well, we'll get right on that. And then they have time for like 15 conversations. That pisses me off all the time. I wrote that down in my notes a few times. Like, you really have time for this conversation right now? Just go.
Because they're risking the entire ship. Because the whole... And this is why the premise also broke in that bit. Because they specifically said... Like, they didn't quite set up the rules and then follow them. They sort of were making shit up as they went along and changed it over. Because they said very specifically that... and I wrote this down. The mycelium will attack the ship, decompose it as soon as we enter. Tritanium isn't its favourite food. 1 hour until we eat through the hull. Eat through the hull is very specific phrasing, and decompose is very specific. That's not what happened. What actually happened is they're going to pull you in and absorb the ship whole cloth. There was no decomposing, there was no eating through the hull, nothing. So the danger factor, again, when you see it like, the ship wasn't dying. And so if Burnham is having these conversations, and yet once the hour's gone, everything like all the structural integrity fields break, and the half the ship collapses, and then you can't spore out. That's the danger. That's the... But she's talking with everyone, because you're risking the entire crew. They will die if you don't. But no, and then they get out, and it's absolutely fine, no damage whatsoever.
There were some black marks on the hull when they got out. I'm just saying.
They didn't want any... It was kind of like a Voyager effect. We're not going to have any repercussions. We know we're not. It's fine. Whereas it really could have been really interesting. Like, and same thing could have been, eaten through the half the hull, which would have looked amazing, and then have to go back to Earth and refit and on dry dock, and it's just, again, once you see the end, there's no for me just.
Well, they don't have time for that. They got to find Spock. They can't go be affording to go get the ship fixed. Yeah, and at one point they said the ship is 78%. 78% of the ship that's in the network is now exposed or whatever. It's like, yeah.
Because if it, yeah, that's a good point, because it's clearly in the ship, but it's not eating the ship. But they said get through the hull. It's already through the hull.
They said tritanium, so yeah, sure, it doesn't go through that very easily. But if it's already in the ship, the things inside the ship, like bed sheets and chairs, would be like destroyed.
Yeah. And then they were getting pulled in, but they never set that as a criteria. So they never said emergency thrusters keep us out, and then suddenly they can get pulled out, but they're spored in. They're not like, they're using amazing tech to jump in. They're not just hovering in. How can you pull them out of a spore tear? Like, what? It just, yeah. Like I say, without things that made as much sense, I got bored.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun.
But what about then the reason for May to bring Tilly in? Because that was all revealed, and we assumed there was a threat to the Spore network. It would close the network forever for us. Yeah, not so much.
Yeah, I thought that was a little bit odd. You got to help us with this monster. At first I thought, well, maybe it's Mir Stamets. Maybe Mir Stamets is there causing trouble.
That's interesting. Or Lorca.
I didn't think Lorca, actually, until after the fact. So yeah, having it be the monster, I mean, Sylvie and I figured that out pretty quick. It's like, is it actually Hugh? And sure enough, it is. But he wasn't a monster. He wasn't attacking them. He was just self-defense, because every time they touch him, it burns.
I appreciate they set up because I was trying to work out as we're going through. They keep throwing stuff at us, a lot of information, but they did call out the tree. There's a tree inside this interdimensional network of energy that's dangerous to us, that will kill us. There's a tree inside the network that will kill us. It's bark, and so we use the bark on him. At least they set that up, and so he's not killing them, but he's covered in the thing that will kill them. But they're not that smart to not be able to like understand. I mean, obviously the implication is the May thing is a new, they've never taken a corporeal form like that. It's only ever been little spores inside. Little spores that can't necessarily communicate with, although they're an intergalactic, interdimensional, intertime network that is in every point of the universe and every dimension in the multiverse and every point in time. Not the smartest, or the brightest.
Well, they're not the brightest star, are they?
Actually, that's one thing I was going to say. I bet you Brian Fuller hates where his Spore story has gone. This is not remotely... It's not remotely what he was trying to do with Season 1. Like, his original... You could tell it's completely... he did not mean for there to be life forms in this, like, an alien race. It's like, this is a weird direction to take the...
Yeah. The Hugh thing was interesting. I thought it was well done. It was just odd that he was there. I know that because earlier when he ran into Stamets in the Mycelial network, Stamets says, "Are you actually here?" And Hugh says, "No, I'm not. I can't come back." It was just...
and he wasn't getting burned by the network. He wasn't covered in sap. This is not what they were planning in season 1, and you can tell.
Yeah.
And that's fine, but this is not properly set up. And I didn't like the explanation very much, because if Stamets, who's connected to the Spore network, can just dimensionally, save somebody, we know there's no ill effects of this spore treatment. It's a tardigrade DNA treatment. Every human can have this and not be affected unless they do spore jumps. And so this is now a superpower. He can now actively stop people from dying. Obviously it does bad things to the network, but if he worked out a way of communicating with the network and say, hey, could you just keep sending us cocoons, we can keep bringing back our dead. Like, you bring out this really incredible, very easy solution to a problem of death, as long as he uses the energy.
No.
Like, that's a real superpower. And
No.
he was also already dead at that point. He'd left the body, so it's weird that.
But had he though, because when Stamets picked him up, he had a tear, which means he could have still been alive, just paralyzed, even though he should have been dead. But also the cocoon thing doesn't work, because that was the spore that went into Tilly, that they pulled out of Tilly, that then reattached itself to Tilly, that then ate Tilly. So it had to be from the mycelial network. It has to be a spore that goes into somebody that they
I understand,
pull
but
out.
because Tilly has no ill effects from any of this, and now they know now they know there's someone to communicate with. They could just call them up and say, "Hey, we'll open up a gateway. You send a spore down. We'll have a volunteer. The person will get spored." You know what I mean? The level of events.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, you could say the only way a spore could come out is through a multi-dimensional and time breach, because they moved in time, and that was big enough. It's like, I mean, you could say that, but they see spores all the time. Are those spores living? Was only the green spore a living entity? Are all spores living? Was she a queen spore? Looked pretty though. And do you remember that shot where they actually spore jumped? Remember in season 1 where it's like mostly dark and you can't see anything? The shape looked nice when it was spore jumping. It's just like, oh, it's well lit.
I had a question too. Sorry, it's kind of going off the rails what you're talking about, but it starts right after the events of the last episode. Burnham's running down to engineering, or running down to where Stamets and them are. Stamets is leaning over the cocoon. She runs down the stairs. Where is Jet Reno? Where is the other engineer that was right beside Stamets? She's completely gone. She just...
Well, they fixed the power conduit and she walked out the room.
But would she though?
And she would be useful in this episode, engineer. She could have been saying all these things about fixing stuff and keeping them. She would be very useful. But they already had, several guest stars to pay.
Yeah.
Speaking of, what do you think of Giorgio's epic entrance and then sudden leaving and then re-emergence at the end, sort of?
I hate that woman. Every scene she's in, I just want to punch her in the throat with a bus.
That's a big punch, Jesus.
I can't stand her. If she's in section 31 and she's acting like this the whole time, I don't know if I can watch that show, to be honest. I had trouble with the scene she was in this one. At the end, it was kind of interesting the way the tables turned, and she's like I bought them another 3 minutes and 30 seconds, and a little, helping them out. And then the smile on her face when you see Discovery on the screen, it's like, yeah, you just want them to owe you something, or at least burn them. And sure enough,
or you want the spore drive ship, the only thing that can get you home.
I never thought that.
Lose this ship.
I never thought that, but that's a good point. But anyway, yeah, and then it's brought up in the conversation later with Michael. It's like, you're gonna want to be paid back in spades, and she's like,
I liked that line.
Yeah, but then Giorgio threw me off yet again by basically saying, you're gonna have to start trusting me at some point. Your life's been in my hands quite a few times, and I've always managed to help you out. And the last thing she says is, "Have a little faith, Michael." And then she ends the communication.
If Hitler says, "Trust me, have a bit of faith," I'd just say, "Nope, walk away." Go back to prison, please. They're obviously trying to make her softer. They know they want to show with her. They have to bring her right down to a different level of Nazi Hitler, insane, murderous, crazy woman of death.
Yeah. No. So her arc in this was weird. How'd she first find Spock's shuttle? How'd she beat the Discovery to it? Because I thought Discovery was booking a trail directly there, but no, she made it there first. Then she comes on Discovery, eats an apple and looks like an asshole, and then leaves. And then they transfer Tyler over, and then she's on the cloak ship watching them, and then she helps them, and then I don't know. It is an odd series of events. It really
The pacing
is.
in this episode, I just don't like the pacing in this episode. I liked the anticlimactic nature. Georgia wasn't the focus. Like, she appeared and then left. That was good, because Section 31 should never be a distinct presence. Until the end, where we know they're working with a Section 31 ship, and the head of Section, one of the heads of the... Okay, whatever, sure. Yeah, we should do a video, Stuart, just says Section 31 is not a secret. Because it's not a secret. It's just not.
I talked about this in my live last night. How it's like it was a secret in Enterprise. Then some event happened that made them public knowledge, and then after TOS or after Discovery, they have to publicly disband the group or destroy, like, get rid of the group, so that people kind of forget about it again, and then it goes back to being clandestine. Because right now it definitely is not.
It's just not secret at all. I mean, because remember,
yeah, it's like it's in the elevator. Look, I have a badge. It's like, and then she puts it in her little pouch. And it's funny, at the one point where she's got her hands up, it almost looks like there's a badge right there on, like, her, like a retractable thing, like she's a card player. It's like, because she's always got it, like, right there.
Yep.
Like, oh.
It's her authentic. It's her. I can do anything I want card. But in DS9, when the introduction of it, they don't even know what it means. They've not even heard of it. 100 years isn't that long to forget things when you've got, in this sort of feature, when you've got access to all the information ever. I mean, even it could be, I guess it could be erased from all records, but I mean, it's a weird. Its power was what it is, and they've completely It's just Spec Ops. It's just CIA covert ops now. And that's really disappointing. Honestly, I'm disappointed by how they framed the episode because they were so. The ship was cool. The fact that it was an asteroid, they're not. That was fun. That was good. We talk about that as for our personal sci-fi stuff. That's a great concept. But the Giorgio thing at the start was weird because she says that was Spock's shuttle. That she finds Spock's shuttle and it's adrift. So I thought she meant she actually got on board Spock's shuttle and was using that because they were tracking Spock's shuttle, or I guess the warp trail of a shuttle on Spock's route. So was the shuttle she was in Spock's shuttle? If she was tracking, okay. So then why is she on it? Where is her? I guess her ship is just the cloaked ship because that was right next door. I guess I assumed that everything was a plant. Because she was beamed onto that shuttle an hour before to then be captured to then bring about the situation, because I don't see any reason for anything else. And the intro, when you watch it a second time, is awful because she shoots a bit of plasma, right? And then Burnham says to disable our sensors, but I know that it stopped and we passed it. I thought his sensors were disabled. Guess not. They ignited the Hydra to stop their sensors, then came to full stop. Then we flew over him. Yeah. But it's how can you say you came to full stop?
It's not saying sensors are detecting that's what happened. She just knows her tactics.
Well, Spock's tactics that weren't Spock's, and then he goes right back over them again, and then does nothing. And then why couldn't you detect him if he goes into this nebula? And why is Giorgio trying to go into this nebula? And the whole scene is an action beat because we need one. And then she comes in, has no plan. She's tracking Spock, but Spock's already left the shuttle, and there's no where would you? I don't understand. And what do you think of the actual introduction of the Section 31 character who knew Pike very well?
Leland.
Yes. And how that was all put together. And he actually specifically calls out that he is now ahead of Section 31, which I thought was quite strange.
I thought it was a nice...
Yeah, he says he's heading up Section 31. In an earlier episode, he said that he's just part of one group, but he calls out to Pike. He's now... implied the head of Section 31.
He's probably lying to Pike because
I assume so.
Yeah, it's nice to have the tie-in with Pike and how Pike even says, you always were kind of more in the gray area. I kind of like the fact that they know each other, especially later when Cornwall says two old friends that don't shake hands, You know, just that there's a history with them that's going to be interesting. I think Leland's going to end up screwing Pike in the end, but I liked it. I liked that inclusion. I thought it was a good take on the characters, and to give it some drama, some dramatic tension. So
Yeah, I liked on the surface, but he didn't feel like a Section 31 officer, or how he was acting, or how he was approaching everything. It just felt like another guy, another Starfleet captain, and at the end, or during, he says, we do what we do, so you can do what you do. So everyone in the Starfleet knows Section 31 do really bad things, really against the rule thing, or against their own, like, you know what I mean? It's just like, I always knew you were a bit of a bad guy who didn't like following rules, and now you're part of a group that doesn't follow rules, so I can do my stuff. It's like, okay. Like, it is... That ending, he felt so, like, normal, a normal captain. Yeah. So wrongly played to this, really, really weird. Like, Tyler played it better. Tyler played a Section 31 character better, ironically.
Don't get me started on Tyler.
What a beard, man. What a beard.
Yeah, dude, cut your hair, for Christ's sake. You look like you just came from the homeless shelter.
And why can't he say Kronos properly? Kronos.
Kronos. Yeah, I made a note of that, too.
Just like, it stands like a sore thumb.
Yeah,
Go back and watch TNG. Everyone says Kronos. It's not...
They're trying to legitimize the language, the Klingon speech that they've been using in Discovery by saying that's just one dialect or something.
It's
but really,
no, just.
I know.
That really stood out. And did you notice the communicator badge?
Yes.
Thoughts?
But as I said in my live last night, that's kind of interesting because, as we know, spies and the government, they usually have technology about 20 or 30, 15 to 20 years, sometimes more, before the general public. So spies have been using cell phones and iPad-like devices since the 60s and stuff, before it was common, So it's interesting. I thought it was a bit odd. It's probably not as advanced as the TNG ones. It probably doesn't have a built-in universal translator, we can surmise, maybe.
And his ship was literally next door. I mean, it was a few hundred meters away, Yeah. I mean, that is super short range. It also just could be just inter-ship as well, or ship to planet, like very local. And yeah, I agree. It just really sort of devalues the one later on, because if it took them until Enterprise C, which is the first time we saw them, to be regular use, then Section 31's actively holding that technology back. That's what they're doing. Now, it's like, oh, okay. For 80, 90 years, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. It was a great line, though. What the
yeah.
hell kind of communicator is that?
I will say I loved about 20 lines in this so much. Some really, really good lines, but so many little, like, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't quite work for me. Or it's just like, it's weird.
I generally liked this episode. I thought it was fun. And I thought it was just maybe the first viewing, and then I went back and rewatched it, obviously, for my notes. And it's like, I really enjoyed this one. It was just, I wasn't nitpicking it apart. I just really enjoyed the ride, and I didn't think it really... The one thing that bothered me was the opening narration, and the closing narration a little bit was just kind of like, meh, burn them, But other than that, I thought it was good.
Yeah, I was bored by the middle, so I didn't care about narration at the end. I
Yeah.
didn't even listen, honestly.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like I say, I've been very not positive. Like I said, we basically swap roles from episode 3, so we do this. But I will write down some lines I really enjoyed for the full review, and when we get to them, because there are lovely little moments, especially Pike lines, some great Tilly lines. I also didn't like the weird Tilly and May relationship, especially she goes from I hate you to I'll help you in about 5 seconds. And I know she's a lovely person, but it's a really quick swap. She literally goes from one extreme to the other. There's no like in between bargaining. It's just dump to dump.
Well, it's like, I need your help, otherwise our species is going to die. She's like, fine, I'm not going to help you. It's like, I can't say no.
Yeah, but that's why. But when she said, "Promise you'll get back to Discovery," that line should have been in that first conversation. Promise me you'll get back to Discovery, and then I'll help you. Okay, whatever. That's the bargaining. So I just felt like that slightly too quick of a switch. And then at the end, she's saying, we've known each other more than anyone else ever. It's a special bond, and I'll always love you. And it's like, you hated her the entire time. why do you suddenly love her at the end and nothing's happened in between the last episode and this episode for you to love her a lot? I was completely unsold by that. I'm like, you're not going to
Well,
try
in the
and get
last
her
episode,
forever.
she felt guilty that she never got a chance to know the actual. Well, she got to know May in school, but then she didn't keep in touch with her. Didn't even know she had died. Felt guilty about that. So there is kind of that overarching thing with Tilly and feeling bad about the May thing, and then even though it's not May, but
Yeah, it's not May. Like, oh, well, we'll try and be together again at some point. It's like, why? You owe her nothing. You saved her realm. But favorite moment then ended on positive. Favorite one moment.
honestly, I think my favorite moment was a visual, and that was where it is sunk half in the mycelial network, and it looks like water. I thought that was interesting, but very confusing. But whatever. The mycelial plane's there. It's just, I thought it was great. I thought the visuals in this were actually kind of good, and I enjoyed those scenes. So that would be my favorite part.
Honestly, I think I'll back you up on that. I think the visuals of the network and that whole sequence are great. I don't think they quite make sense, and certainly not the way Brian Fuller originally intended the season one. You can imagine Stamets from season one and like talking about this network, and if you introduce him to this Stamets, he'd be like, "Nah, this is weird. This is not right," you know. But visually it was great. But I mean, how do you visualize this, you know, inter-universal network that connects all time, all place, all dimensions, all realities? How do you possibly, you know what I mean? So the water effect was beautiful and the internal effect was beautiful, but don't know if it quite made sense or even tried to make sense, but it looked cool. So out of 10 then, Stuart?
Give this one a strong 7.5. Let's go 7.5.
Okay, I'm going to say 4.5 to 5 if you push me. Yeah. I mean, it's still better than season 1 of Discovery, but, you know, if you don't like the core episode arc, it doesn't quite work for you, then there's nothing else to really pick on, you know?
Always click like to the videos. That always helps. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Click the notification icon. Visit our social media. Check out the links down below. We got a Teespring store and a bunch of other cool stuff. Save yourself some money through Eagle Moss and just fun stuff down in the description. Check it out. It's all written down there. Every video is down there. Go watch it. Go look at it. Go click things. Go do things. Anyway, so yeah, and just join us again. And of course, share the video around if you can, because people will love it.
And Patreon. Really, really important thing to help support this channel and other things, because, you know, we don't just do this channel. We try to do other content, trips and stuff, you know, fun stuff. So support us on that, Patreon/Trekyards. Give anything you want each and every month, or one-time donation at trekyards.com. Any little bit, or like Stuart said, buy anything, but with our links, gives us a bit of something from that as well, and everyone wins. So please do, and I guess until next time.
I'm Captain Foley.
I'm Connor Kungs.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.